if you're not aiming for something, you're always going to miss the mark. As Jordan Peterson talks about, the root of the word sin is from Greek, and it's an archery term to miss the target. So if you're just, wing, going in a direction without focusing on something that you're trying to hit, you're never going to get there. If you don't know where you're going, any road will do, is the old saying. And so really take some time to sit down with yourself and to ask those questions of, what do I want to achieve? That is the most critical thing.
Hey, what's up, everybody? And welcome to Masters in Fitness Business Podcast, where you get to stand on the shoulders of giants. And today, for this episode, we're going to upstate New York. We're going to talk to Joe Templin, who you've just heard his resume is very accomplished. He's got an impressive resume, and he's just written a new book, Everyday Excellence, because everyday excellence is about habits. And your habits are what create everyday excellence. And we're going to be talking about that with Joe. So, Joe, welcome to the show, man.
Jim, it's my pleasure. I hope I can add some value to your listeners today.
Yeah, I think you can, because I'm a big proponent in that as you grow, either as a person or in your business or just in life, you need to audit your habits, because we are all creatures of habits. And you have to audit the habits to see if this is a habit that will get you to where you want to go now. Now that if you've changed your goals or changed your trajectory, then you need to examine your habits to make sure this is a habit that's going to get you there. And if it's not, then you need to replace it with a new habit. So I'm a big believer. Go ahead.
With your audience, I mean, your people are trainers. They work on the physical body. So Tiger Woods went and broke down his swing, even though he had just won another major, to make it better. Okay. We see this with successful sports teams where they're like, okay, we won, but we need to upgrade here. We need to improve this. Okay. So whether it's an individual, a team, an organization, a coach, very often we need to stop, reassess, look at the game film as to what's going on here. And that's a reflection of the habits and everything. And maybe go through a J curve as we break things down and rebuild them the same way that they do in boot camp or in pledging, or when you start as a white belt in a new martial art, you go back down to your basics somewhat so that you can go higher, faster, stronger to steal the Olympic model.
Yeah. And I don't think there's any better example of that than TB12. I mean, you talk about habits. I mean, that guy's written books about his habits that have kept him performing at the highest level longer than anybody in the history of the NFL. So I agree with you 100% there, but you've written several books. So, and this one was kind of off the beaten path, so to speak, from your previous books. So what led you to this book and writing this book?
This book is basically the output of 35 plus years of training and development in multiple different arenas and turning my mind into essentially a super saturated solution. And then I had that Satori moment, that crystal that dropped in that caused everything to come on out. So a couple months before I actually had that moment, I was talking with one of my friends who's an incredibly successful attorney. He's like, you're not really just an advisor. You're not really just a writer or anything. You're like a guru. You should just like run my life for me. And, because you know about all these different things and you've got these habits and you've got this knowledge and experiences. So why don't you just, tell me what to do with my life and I'll do it. And then a couple months later, I was working out down in my weight room. I've got Jocko Willink playing on one of my devices. I'm blasting some Black Sabbath on the other one, swinging around the kettlebell. And all of a sudden, bang, it hit me. I put down the kettlebell, ran upstairs and started brain dumping and came up with the basic thesis of everyday excellence. So excellence is a habit, okay? Your body is a reflection of all your choices. whether it is what Tony Robbins says, your physical habits, or as my Taekwondo master says, you dig your grave with your teeth. So we are a reflection of our choices. And instead of trying to focus on the big things, let's focus down on the micro decisions that people make. The average person has someplace between 40,000 and 80,000 thoughts on a daily basis. And we probably make about 10,000 different micro decisions at different points. And as they say in the Deadpool 2 movie, 4 or 5 moments is what makes a hero. 4 or 5 decisions or choices each day is what separates the average person sitting there eating Cheetos on their couch from the elite. And so if I could help out in that, then I wanted to. And so the book really, when you boil it down, is a multivitamin. And it helps not just in terms of your physical health, but your mental health, your relationship health, building your business, all of these different parameters that are necessary for a healthy individual, whether you're looking at them from a business point of view, physical health, as a partner, spouse, parent, what have you, taking the couple of moments each morning to consume this is going to, at the end of a week, month, year, dramatically change your curve for your future.
I like that, and I agree with all of that. My question is that I'm a big believer that you change the mindset, you change your perspective and the lens through which you view something, and then those micro decisions that you talked about kind of take care of themselves. So do you start with like a mindset shift, or do you start with the micro decisions themselves and kind of act as if?
Yes. And people hate it when I answer questions like this. You got to remember, I'm a physicist. So is light a particle or a wave? Yes, it's both. It depends how you look at it. So the micro decisions influence the mindset, and the mindset influences the micro decisions. We all have our reticular activation system, our RAS, which is our lens on the universe. So I have rose-tinted glasses because I grew up that way, and I've chosen to focus on the good. And I completely endorse the Stockdale Paradox. Embrace the suck, but know that you can make things better. So with that mindset, things might be crappy, but we can improve them. So as long as I don't give up, I haven't failed yet, is the attitude in a lot of ways. So if you can look at a situation and try and extract 1 or 2 pearls, some decent ideas, if you can look at your situation like with your gym, hey, COVID could be the worst thing that ever happened, or it could be the best thing that ever happened because it forces you to break things down. Bruce Lee wrote The Art of Jeet Kune Do when he was lying there with a broken back recovering, and he dictated to his wife. Okay, and he completely redid his martial art in his mind and came back stronger, faster, better than he was before. So was him breaking his back a horrific thing or the best thing in his life? Depends on how you want to look at it.
Yeah, I like that because I recently had to undergo open heart surgery for a birth defect that I recently found out about that required open heart surgery to fix. And so I was working with a business coach and had to scramble to prepare my business for me not to be there for a month, And so putting my business kind of on those systems and processes and kind of autopilot, so to speak, to where I can still operate the business on a daily basis remotely was probably one of the best things for my business and for me. It relieved a tremendous amount of stress, and it made my business run that much smoother. So I agree with you on that. It's both. As much as I hate that answer, and most people hate that answer, it's like going to the doc and going, "Hey, it hurts when I do this. What does that mean?" I'm like, well, we're going to have to do some x-rays. We're going to have to do some tests. We're going to have to kind of dig down and see what's going on here. And that's just an example, a bigger example of life in general. So how do you start? Where's the starting point with making those micro decisions differently, with changing the mindset? What's the starting point?
I think the starting point is understanding what you want ultimately. Because if you want to use an equation, the entire planning process, whether it's for business, whether it's a training program for your body, whether it's for trying to reach your goals for retirement or send your kids to college, is all about the equation want minus have equals need. And how many people seriously sit down and contemplate that want? You know, I talk to young business professionals a lot, and they're like, I want to make a lot of money. Okay, well, what's a lot of money? You know, when I was first in business, $100,000 a year was a lot of money. Now it's not. Right? A lot of money to, a professional athlete who's making $25 million a year is making $35 million a year or $40 million a year. So it's all relativistic in that case. But what is it that you truly want? So do you want to earn your black belt? Do you want to run your first marathon? Do you want to run an ultra marathon? Do you want to have a business that's generating $2 million per year and takes less than 50 hours a week for you to run so that you can actually have a life and, stay married to your spouse? Things like that. So really spend the time understanding and asking that question. Because if there's a saying in the Bible, a people without a vision will perish, I'd say 90+% of the people walking around today have no vision of what they want to achieve. You see this, you go to the gym, and most people are there just, throwing around weights or getting on the treadmill or whatever without a purpose around that. Versus when I was getting ready to compete in a tournament, I knew exactly what I was doing and why. When I'm training for an ultra marathon, I know, okay, this weekend I have to do 25 miles on Saturday because that's part of my plan to get to this point 4 months from now. So understanding what that is down the road, even though that target might change over time, and after you reach it, you get a new one, hey, I want to go a longer distance or what have you. But if you're not aiming for something, you're always going to miss the mark. As Jordan Peterson talks about, the root of the word sin is from Greek, and it's an archery term, to miss the target. So if you're just, wing, going in a direction without focusing on something that you're trying to hit, you're never going to get there. If you don't know where you're going, any road will do, is the old saying. And so really take some time to sit down with yourself and ask those questions of, what do I want to achieve? That is the most critical thing, because then you can say, oh yeah, I don't want this donut because it's going to interfere with my long range goal. Or I'm not going to put that dating app on my phone because it's going to interfere with my relationship with my spouse, even though we're on the outs at this point. Or I'm not going to go home from the office because I haven't made my 30 dials to reach new potential clients yet. So if you have that thing that you're trying to work towards, that you're trying to achieve, then you can break down and build your plan and what you need to do on a regular basis, whether it's a marathon plan or a business plan.
Yeah, I like that. And I think as corny and as cheesy and cliche as it sounds, when you write those things down and then you share them with someone else, they become more real. To your point,
a really cool way to work on that. The average person looks at their cell phone 400 times a day. If you want your goal to be real, you put it as your lock screen on your phone.
I like that, because then it's always there.
It's always there. Another great thing is you tell somebody who's going to stay on you about it.
Right.
Where it's a training partner. And the best example I have is my 11-year-old autistic son. Okay. This kid, I told him, if I do X, we're going to go to Disney. And so every single day, Da, have you done it? Da, have you done it? Da, have you done it? He'll like, even in a car ride that's 30 minutes long, he'll ask me when he gets in the car, and he'll ask me at the end of the car ride. It's like, no, buddy, I'm driving. I'm not working right now. But, you know, I'm not going to let that cute kid down. So he's giving me the proper amount of motivation and feedback loop, essentially, reminding me of that goal all the time.
Yeah.
So how am I going to, in clear conscience, look at this kid and say, no, we're not going to Disney because I did not work hard enough. I did not do my job.
Yeah, I like that. And going back to your example of the gym, I remember another lifetime ago when I was doing bodybuilding. Every time I would go to the gym, I had a training log, and it was organized into what I was doing, that what my goal was for that week, what I'd done the previous, and what I needed to do to reach my goals. And then the same thing when I hired this business coach, we set a goal of I want my business to produce X amount of revenue by, you know, January 1. And he said, okay, then let's reverse engineer that. Let's see what's your average member paying, and then based on that, how many members do you need to reach that revenue goal? And then based on how many members you need, how many leads do you need, how many appointments do you have to have booked, and what's your closing rate need to be. So
Those
all
books
of
right
those
there are going back to 1995 when I first entered the professional industry, tracking my activity on a daily and hourly basis for building my career.
Oh,
And at
wow.
home, I've got my training journals of the same sort of stuff from running and from martial arts.
Yeah, and same thing. I only ran one marathon, and it was horrible, but I did learn a lot about myself during that 26-mile trek. But I do remember I had a plan, and I woke up one Saturday, and it was the day I had to do my long run. It was a 20-miler. And I woke up Saturday, I'm like, oh, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it tomorrow. So I woke up on Sunday, and it was not just raining, it was thunder and lightning raining. And so I said, well, I got to get it done. You know, I mean, if I want to reach my goal, I got to get it done. So I went out and ran 20 miles in, you know, a thunderstorm. And it was one of the most miserable experiences of my life. But, you know, it helped me to finish the marathon.
Yeah. And you probably said to yourself beforehand, this is going to suck.
Yeah.
But it's going to make me better.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's building that mental and emotional reserves that are needed, whether you're going to do a marathon or an ultra marathon or build a multi-million-dollar business, because it's not a 100-yard sprint. It is grinding things out every single day. It is having faith in your process, because I guarantee you, not every single one of your training runs was great. Not every single time that you went to the gym as a bodybuilder was it great. Not every single day in terms of building your business is it great. But if you remove the emotion from it and you just do what you have to do and stick to your plan, one, it reduces anxiety. And so that's one of the big mental health things that we're working on with some of our people that we are coaching. But two, it gives you faith in your system. And you develop that internal fortitude to be able to do what you have to do when need be. So that helps you in other aspects of your life, whether you go through a divorce, or your mom develops cancer, or your kid, you know, has some mental issues that you have to be able to draw from your reserves on. All of these things make us resilient and stronger in the game of life. And that is one of the reasons why your listeners should be coaching their clients on, I am preparing you for stuff beyond just your body. I am building your mind and your spirit so that when crap happens, you are prepared for it.
Yeah, and I think in this industry, I think coaches need to hire coaches for themselves too. So, and to your point, it's the everyday consistency.
Yeah, I still go see my Taekwondo master.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I have a jiu-jitsu coach, I have a business coach, and then I have a kind of defunct or default life coach as well, and my girlfriend. So, but she's really good about that. But it comes down to that consistency of doing it every day, and that's where the importance of habit. So I know in your book you have it broken down for every day of the year. Can you walk the listeners through how that works and why you set it up that way?
Sure, because habits, as we said, lead to your results, and you're not going to see the results in a single day. So you have to structure the habits. And so, like, one of my habits is I get up, I grab my cup of coffee, which is left over from the day before, and I turn on the coffee pot to make the new coffee. So this way I don't have to wait, and I can literally then sit down, I read my daily Stoic, and then I read my page from the book and do my action item. Now, when I was writing the book, I would read the daily Stoic, I would go work out for 15 minutes to get my brain going. Then I would sit down and write. Then for a half hour, then I'd go do a real workout. You know, the first workout was just to get the blood flowing. I would do that every single day. And so I would just stack these habits one after another. So we all get out of bed in the morning, I think. So we get out of bed, you know, roll out of bed, go to the bathroom, get your cup of coffee, sit down and feed your mind with something. And so my book is designed to do that. And as I said, it's a multivitamin. So in a lot of ways, the reader takes from that day what is appropriate for them. If they want to focus on something in relationships or business or mental health or physical health or what have you. So for example, Jim, what's your date of birth?
September 28th. You want me to give you the year?
No, I don't need that. I'm just
Okay,
looking
good.
through the book. And we're going to use you as a real world example here. September 28th. That's my kid brother's birthday, by the way. Okay. So the quote is, so every day we start with a quote. If you are lucky enough to find a way of life you love, you have to find the courage to live it. John Irving. Dude, that's perfect for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Right? And then we have a bunch of discussion. Okay. And so literally, not everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur. The uncertainty and massive efforts and risk. For those of us with a temperament and work ethic, though, is the most glorious adventure. So this is speaking directly to your people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? And so there's discussion about how to build your business, focusing on the little things, building your plan, solving it, you know, doing the things that you can. And then every single day at the end, there's an action item. On your birthday would be, what is something you want to do, but just haven't had the courage to do? If it doesn't hurt others, take a deep breath and start doing it. So one of the things I was taught early in my business career was every single day, you should do the thing that you fear the most until it no longer scares you. So for example, when I was building my financial planning business 25 plus years ago, I hated the phone. In fact, when I was in grad school and after grad school, I didn't have a phone in my apartment because I did not like phones that much. Even today, I don't want to pick up the phone. It's one of the things that I hate the most. Yet, because I hated it so much, I became a master at it. 95% of the people that I reach on the phone, I get an appointment with. Because I broke down the psychology, I practiced my language a dozen plus times a day, and then I just sucked it up and did it. And so that is the thing that was one of the key drivers, because if I didn't pick up the phone, I wouldn't have appointments. If I didn't have appointments, I'd have nobody to sit down with. So if you want to build a business that's generating $2 million a year, guess what? You need clients. How do you get clients? Well, you need to be able to ask for introductions. You need to be able to or market some way to get people to talk to. Then you need to talk to them. And you need to be able to have your value proposition of why should you work with me? Why should I train your mind, body, and spirit to make you better?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's kind of like Tony Robbins says, you should work harder on yourself, 4 times as hard on yourself as you do your business. You know,
Yep,
because
and he actually took that from Jim Rome.
Oh,
who
yeah,
was
that's
one
right.
of his mentors in the early days.
Yeah.
And if you work on yourself, I have a saying that I wear my black belt on my soul. So nobody can take it away from me. So the effort that I went through, the pain, the sacrifice, that I made a sacrifice of myself to myself for the future. So I now have those reserves of energy. I have that skill set. I have that belief set that it doesn't matter basically what life throws at me. I'm going to be able to come through it. A year ago, I had a cancer scare where they cut my face open. And so you can see I've got sort of like a fat lip. No, I wasn't fighting today. This is actually part of the remains of a neurotrauma on my face. So if you hear I've got a slight slur, no, I'm not drinking yet. And so this has impacted my speaking career throughout the day. My mouth actually hurts more and more. So my face is half in pain, half numb. I know my face hurts others. But so this is what I go through. And when I was faced with that situation, it's like, okay, it's either going to be cancer or it's not. If it's cancer, we'll deal with it then. If it's not cancer, I'll deal with what happens from that point. So just being able to build the skill set mindset from the martial arts, from the ultra marathons, from building the business, allows me to be able to tackle that and the other things, like when I was going through my divorce or when I'm building another business. It's these reserves that you have inside. Once somebody runs a marathon the first time, they're changed. Once somebody becomes a champion for the first time, they are changed. Now they can get fat and lazy and say, all right, I've done it. Or they can say, what is the process that made me a champion? And how can I take those skills, that mindset, and apply it into the next game, the next arena?
Yeah, I like that a lot, and it definitely applies. So do you have any examples of either yourself or other people who have used the book to bring about a change in their habits and a change in their life?
Well, one example actually from this morning is one of my good friends. I've worked with him on and off for 8 years or whatever. Reached out to me this morning. He's like, I need a copy for my son-in-law to make sure that he continues to grow and develop as a man and a leader so that he's a good father to my grandchildren.
Okay.
So that was an example from this morning. I had another one a couple of weeks ago where one of my female friends was struggling with some anxiety issues and everything. And she read that particular page in the book and reached out to me. She's like, hey, I got a question, about dealing with anxiety because of all these things. I'm like, one, as Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers in the situation. And two, are you going to focus on the rain or are you going to focus on the rainbow?
She's like,
okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are just two situations right there. But one of the things I did is the concept of, utilizing your habits to build your excellence. I applied when writing this book, and I've applied it in my business. So James Clear, you're probably a big fan of his, like I am, in terms of his book, Atomic Habits, talks about habit stack. And you've heard that habits can take 6 days, 21 days, 66 days. The ones that take that long time is because you're trying to build a habit independent of everything else. Okay, you're basically building a structure in the sky, a castle in the sky, and then you need to put a foundation on it. But as I said, everyone gets up in the morning. So if that's the first step, why don't we stack the habits off of that? Okay, you roll out of bed, you feed your mind. Whether it's reading the book, you can use the audio version that we send to you. You can do something else, but then you work out right away because we lose our days because chaos ensues. So get the workout, your own personal workout, done right away because that does multiple things. One, you have made your commitment to yourself. Two, you're continuing your journey overall. Three, it lowers the stress hormones in your system, increases your dopamine and serotonin, so you're feeling better, you're actually smarter, you're more productive, you're healthier, things like that, and then roll from there. So if you start every single day, I get up, I feed my mind and body and work out and do these things, you've already set the positive dominoes up to be able to keep going. And that all starts actually the night before. What did you eat? When did you go to sleep? Things like that how do you structure things to carry on forward? So one thing for your business owner clients is make sure that the day before, so let's say you finish your business day at 7 p.m. or whatever, you review your day, okay? You do your after action item, okay? Whatever numbers that you need to keep for the day, you review them, you post and plan so that you have that in your head. And so you're not anxious. And then review the next day as to what you need to do so that your mind is already working on solving those problems when you're off doing other stuff, whether it's going for a run or sitting there having dinner with your family or what have you. But
Sleeping.
the subconscious is working to solve those goals. And while you're sleeping, you're coming up with those solutions. So you roll out of bed and you're good to go.
Yeah, and I like that. And like I said, it sounds corny and cliche to write these things down, to spend this time to review your day and your habits, and then review your day, what happened at the end of the day. But it works. I mean, it simply works. You talk to anybody who reached any level of success, and they will have some form of structure like that in their life. I recently finished that book, The World's Greatest Salesman. And if you read it the way that he wants you to read it, it takes you 10 months to read it, because you have to spend 30 days with each scroll. You have to read it 3 times a day. The last time you have to read it aloud. And I thought, this is silly, but I did it. And something about spending 30 days with the scroll helps you really incorporate it in your life, and with those daily micro decisions, like you said. And then also reading it out loud gives it much more weight. At least it did for me. So I'm a big believer in spending time and developing those habits. And it just takes daily, consistent effort, period.
That's one of the things around that is our own voice is the most powerful thing to us ourselves. And so when I'm working with people to build sales careers or build their business and whatever, I have them write out their ideal language. So if you're going to call a potential client to pitch your services as an instructor, what is your language, or are you just winging it? Because guess what? No professional athlete goes out there and wings it and wins. Okay, yeah. So isn't the game of business that much more valuable? So have your plan, have your script as to what you're going to say, and practice it all the time. I practice my language for getting introductions 5 times per day. I had a fake fish in my office. I asked that fake fish every single day for introductions 10 times, just to make sure that I had the muscle memory, so that even today I can just open up my mouth and my language comes on out. That fish never gave me any introduction, by the way, so I'm still upset. I'm still but you know, that practice. And so not just doing that, but every single one of us has a phone, a smartphone with a voice recorder on it now. It's not like the old days when we had tape decks and stuff. So record your own perfect language on your phone and listen to it back, because that's like watching the game tape in an event. You see what's working, what's not. Well, hey, this doesn't feel quite right. And so you tweak it and you tweak it until it's right. And then you can play that while you're in the shower, while you're brushing your teeth, while you're doing these other things, and it sinks directly into your subconscious. And that is the goal of training, is that you get an automatic response, whether it's martial arts or a SWAT team, or it's sitting in front of a potential client and they ask a question. You don't have to think, you react. And that is the difference between being okay and being awesome. Yeah. And if you're going to be in business, you might as well be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that. And I know you can relate to this, but because you do Taekwondo and I'm in Jiu-Jitsu, and I tell people all the time, white belts and black belts do the same move, do the same moves. It's all Jiu-Jitsu, but the black belts just do it a lot better, a lot faster, and more intuitively, because they've practiced than the white belt. So it's the same thing. And then to take that a step further is, you know, when you talk about your own voice is the most powerful one to yourself, then that includes the internal dialogue, how you talk to yourself and what you say to yourself, and whether you're pumping yourself up or whether you're degrading yourself in your own mind.
can I give 2 examples of stuff like
Yeah,
that, actually?
absolutely.
So I've been doing Taekwondo for over 35 years at this point, former international champion, all that other stuff. But one of the things that I do is I still focus on my basics. So part of my morning routine every single morning is that I do 100 punches with each hand. Just a nice, boring horse stance center punch, the same thing that I learned my first class back in 1984 at the local YMCA. Okay, 100 punches per day takes, per hand, a minute and a half, maybe minute. Okay, but over my lifetime, I've thrown over 10 million punches per hand. I don't have to think. I'm still faster than guys who are 30 years younger because I continue to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't use it, you lose
that
it.
is where your repetition comes out. So Malcolm Gladwell talks about 10,000 hours to have mastery. My Taekwondo master, Daniel Grant, taught us you need to do a technique 100 times to do it, 1,000 times to understand it, and 10,000 times to master it.
Yeah, that's
And
about
that's
right.
actually in the book, because it means so much to me that I need to share that wisdom with the world. And so having that focus of doing it, as Bruce Lee said, I don't fear a man who's done 10,000 kicks once. I fear a man who's done one kick 10,000 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that repetition, to be able to do it with your language, with your process and approach, with working with your clients on everything, and it's that self-talk. So one of the things I would do with my Taekwondo students is once or twice a semester, I would have them there shadow boxing. I'm like, you're going to channel Muhammad Ali. And they'd be there shadow boxing. I'm like, I want to hear it. I am the greatest. I am the greatest, because I want them to know this. I want them to reinforce this. There's a guy who's now the instructor at RPI who was my assistant for years. He's incredibly fast, just a freak of nature, an athlete and all this. He's actually now a higher rank than me, and he can't beat me. Even though his technical skills are better than mine, he does not believe that he can beat me. Because I'm never going to let him believe that and everything. But I've tried telling him, Chris, you're better than I am. Master McAvoy, you are better than I am at this point. Once he believes that, he's unstoppable. And so it's that mental switch, that little quantum leap, that tiny little bit, that is the difference between being good and being excellent, or being awesome. Okay. And so with professional athletes, whether it's a skier or what have you, they need to just have that extra little, that belief, and then they're on the podium.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. It's like the baby elephant that they tie to a stake with a rope, and then you get this full-grown elephant that doesn't think that it can escape from the rope because it's had that rope around it its entire life, and so that's
Right.
that mental shift that you're talking about. Yeah.
And we've built those chains over ourselves over years and decades.
Yeah, our self-limiting beliefs. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, Joe, this has been great, and I have to tell you that I'm really looking forward to using the book, not just reading the book, but using the book. And I would recommend it to my listeners. You got nothing to lose, except maybe some self-limiting beliefs.
Yep. And Jim, because of you bringing me on here and all the good that you do for your people, what we've done is I've actually got on the website, people can purchase the ebook, and I created a special code, Trainer Jim, for your listeners. And so they can get a discount on the ebook if they go to the site everyday-excellence.com, use the code Trainer Jim, and they can get a discount so that they can be working on this right away and being able to take their multivitamin for their life and their business every day.
I like it. And those links will be in the show notes. Just go to trainerjim.net, click on this episode of the podcast, and the links and the code will be right there so you can get a discount on the ebook. And Joe always wrap up with 3 questions, and it's my favorite part of the show because we get to peek behind the curtain that is Joe Templin. So my first question is, what has been your most successful failure? And by that, I mean, at the time, it seemed like a devastating loss that you weren't going to be able to recover from, but you were able to take life lessons from it that propelled you to greater success down the road.
It's one of two. It's either when I left the lab and stopped being a research physicist and started building my business career, or when I left my first company in financial services after 15 years, after having built the office from scratch, having built a company, or a personal business that was generating the equivalent of about $30 million today, and went back to nothing and had to reevaluate everything that I did. So both of these were just major cataclysmic shifts. So I'm not sure if it was when I decided that I no longer wanted to be just, the head geek in a laboratory, or when I left the cozy confines of what the system that I had grown up in and had to go on out on my own journey, like in the book Iron John, and create myself all over again. So
Iron John,
both of those
yeah.
were tremendous setbacks, but
yeah, Iron John's a great book. I have that one. We have a lot of the same reading material. What lessons were you able to take from those situations that propelled you to greater success down the road?
one thing was something that my shrink buddy actually says all the time: if it's to be, it's up to me. So being independent of an organization, of I'm going to work with and build this company, build this group, or anything, but I'm building myself as much. And I will give them all my loyalty, all my respect, all my effort, but I'm not going to count on anything from anybody else. So I need to be ready to walk on out and be as I am today, Ronin, a masterless samurai in need of nobody. And if you build that capability to be the true Sigma individual, then you can just wander the earth and do great things and not need anything. And so by not needing anything, you can achieve anything.
It's kind of like that Stoic philosophy. What is your worst fear? And then, you live your worst fear, and then it's like, this isn't as bad as I thought.
And when you've embraced them and gone with them and actually had lived through it, okay, that was, all right, yeah. I didn't die. So
yeah, what else you got?
Exactly. That which does not kill me makes me stronger. I'm now like Thor.
Right. Yeah.
Back there.
Yeah. And so my next question is, in your time in this industry, what has been the biggest surprise that you've had to deal with that you did not see coming? And I used to exclude COVID, but I recently started including it because I think there was a lot of good that actually came out of COVID.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I built a national level business 20 years ago when I had to do everything on the phone and FedEx paperwork all over the country. So the evolution of online stuff and Zoom, and now everybody's able to do this, and it's much more efficient to move electrons than molecules, is something that I've said for a decade. So the rest of the world's catching up on this. But I think that the biggest thing that surprised I might see coming is that so few people are committed to their personal growth and development. People say, I'm good. I mean, I've talked with people who run offices that are doing $2 million a year of production. And, they're working real hard and all that. And it's like, hey, I've got some ideas. Here's some things that can increase your productivity by 15% with minimal changes. No, don't want to try anything new. Don't want to expand, don't want to question things, don't want to rock the boat. So we're just going to keep beating our head against the wall this way. Oh, okay. And so the sheer number of individuals out there who are not willing to do the hard work on themselves or their organization to move from being okay to being awesome. That's been the biggest, I don't want to say aha, but like the biggest WTF moment for me is like, okay.
Yeah, you're okay with the status quo. Where do you think that comes from?
people are scared. I mean, because growth takes effort, growth takes energy. There's going to be pain of some form, whether it's physical or mental. So you choose your pain. Okay, you can sit on the couch and eat Cheetos and watch The Bachelor and have no pain now. And down the road, you're going to have diabetes and swollen knees and not be able to walk and all that sort of crap. You can take the nice, easy route and stay with a corporate job where you're getting the nice paycheck every 2 weeks and benefits and all that. Or you can take the risk and go out and build something on your own. Because guess what? That nice corporate job that you have, when they sell off that division or downsize or break up the company or there's layoffs, guess what? You're getting hit. So when do you want that pain? When you're 47 years old and have a spouse and 2.2 kids and a golden retriever and a white picket fence? Or do you want to take it in your 20s and 30s when you can continue to live a Spartan existence and not have a TV and have the same crappy grad school apartment like I did and whatever, and take the time and make your sacrifices then so that you never have to worry down the road?
Yeah, I like that. I like the grad school apartment. It's like when you're in that stage of your life and you meet the girl or the person, right? None of your shit makes the cut for the cohabitation. You're like, no, that's
nope.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had to get rid of my roaring dinosaur phone, and she didn't like my other stuff. That's
right.
Like,
yeah.
so
none
you
of
know
it
what?
makes
I
the
still
cut.
have the dinosaur phone, and I don't have the wife.
Yeah. Yeah. So if the furniture can outlast the spouse, that's a good thing. All right, and then my last question, and I'm really interested to hear this one, is where do you go for your personal and professional development?
Oh, dude, I go to lots of different places. So this might sound weird, but I am a YouTube addict. So all these different 5 to 15-minute motivational things, I play them constantly. So from the time that I start working out in the morning, I've got that going. My 25-minute ride in the car to come on down to the office, I'm playing something like that. So I am constantly programming my mind around that. I read books all the time. I just got Ray Dalio's book to read, and I'm reading the Daily Stoic, and I've got these other things. And I look to other individuals. The old saying that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I mean, my friends that I reach out to because they're better than me include a colonel in the Dutch Special Forces who's former psychological operations. My buddy who's one of the greatest research physicists on the planet now. People who have built $100 million corporations. So these are all my friends who are better than me. And it's like, I'm not, catching up to you yet. I'm trying. And so I expose myself to bigger ideas, bigger things. So one of the questions that I ask people instead of how you doing is, what are you reading? Because I want to hear what they're reading, because that's the way that I find awesome new stuff to continuously make me grow.
Yeah, I like that. And one of my former mentors always says, never be afraid to be the dumbest person in the room. And if you're, in the room with, those 5 people who are smarter than you, don't be afraid to say, what is that? Right? What does that mean? That's the only way you level up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as Jordan Peterson says, being the fool is the first step towards being the savior. So I look foolish all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Well, yeah, no, this has been great. So we already went over your contact information. Can you give that website once again and the code once again for the listeners?
Absolutely. So it's www, obviously, everyday-excellence.com, everyday-excellence.com. Or you can find us on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, just Google Everyday Excellence and we'll pop on up. And the code for your people to be able to take advantage of and get a discount is Trainer Jim.
Okay, easy enough. And like I said, all those links will be in the show notes. Just go to trainerjim.net, click on this episode, and you can get a discount on the ebook and start practicing everyday excellence in your life and see what kind of difference it makes. Joe, thanks for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, and I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm looking forward to diving into this book. And I would like to be able to reach out to you if I have any questions or come up with anything, and maybe even have you back on the show once I dive into this book.
Hey, you've got my contact. It would be my honor to come on back and help your people out and have another conversation after you've learned some, changed some, improved some. And as I say all the time, be excellent and grow today.
Yeah, I like that. All right, well, Joe, well, thanks again, man. And you have a good rest of your day.
You too, my friend. Make it awesome.
I'm going to try.